Wave 4 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass is just released, and I absolutely love it. Most of the tracks here are outstanding and even some of the best in the entire game. I'd like to review each track and add them to my previous ranking of the tracks from the first 3 waves that I did a couple months ago. With all, let's get right into it. You know, I originally did not like this track that much back in Tour. Yes, I still play Tour, don't judge me. However, this track is actually my favorite city track in this wave. I love all the different areas that it takes you through. The layout through the city portion of the track is quite harsh too, especially on 200cc, which is something that I really appreciate, as the previous city tracks felt a bit too easy. I also like how the underwater section is slippery, which adds another layer of challenge. If there is one thing that I complain about though, is that they removed the ramp at this portion of the track, and the removal of the split path in the beginning of the water section definitely tripped me up. However, another part of this track that surprised me is the music, as it is way better than in Tour. This is a great start to this wave, and it's on par with Sydney's Sprint for being the best city track in the entire game. So, Riverside Park. Compared to the rest of the tracks in this wave, it's kind of forgettable. I think the developers knew this though, which is why they made it look like the best looking course in this DLC so far. Like, goddamn! Grass textures, guys!
Oh my god! Wow!
The layout is just alright though. Jumping out of the water is fun, and the patooey plants are a nice new enemy, and I like how they're utilized, but the music is pretty bland. It's not a bad song, just a bit unmemorable compared to the rest of this wave's OST. This track is decent overall, with nice visuals and a cool new enemy, but a pretty simple layout and an okay song. It's my least favorite track this wave. Come on, Fruit Cup, let's see if you can redeem yourself. You know, I was really excited to see this course return, but it's not as fun as I imagined it to be. I still like DK Summit, or Snowbird Cross for you crikeys living in the bloody England innit? But I don't know, it's just not as fun as I thought it would be. The cannon is super slow, which definitely threw me off at first, and the half pipes aren't super fun to take unlike another course which we'll get to later. They also can feel a bit janky sometimes. However, I do love the fact that the double cut is still here, and the music is great too. But I would have preferred DK Mountain from Double Dash. Hopefully that course comes later on. DK Summit isn't bad by any means, just not as good as I anticipated it to be, but it is much more interesting than Riverside Park at least. You know, I was a bit scared going into this track at first, as most of the Tour non-city tracks have been just glorified loops, excluding Ninja Hideaway. However, this is not only my favorite track this wave, but my favorite track out of the entire DLC so far. I don't know what it is, but something about it is just so fun. I love how the entire road is slippery, which makes it a bit challenging to stay on the course. Cutting the turn up the volcano super tight is really fun too, and getting an ultra mini turbo and flying up the glider ramp is so satisfying. Getting the red bridge to spawn is also difficult, but it's really rewarding because it goes over the off-road and the bridge isn't slippery, giving the player a reward for aiming well. The different colors and biomes all make for a really nice looking track too, and the music is astounding, especially the results screen song. This track just has a really nice and fun feeling to it, and it was a really nice surprise.
Hey Finch, what's the capital of Thailand?
Bangkok!
You know how I said that Amsterdam Drift was my favorite city track? Well,
Psych!
because Bangkok Rush is where it's at. This was my most anticipated track for the entire DLC, as it is my favorite track in Tour, and it remains its supremacy here. All the different routes you can take make for an incredibly diverse and cool layout. The track itself is also really diverse, containing a river with boats, markets, a parking garage, etc. I also like how the small corner cuts can be done without a mushroom, which makes them really fun to go for. The music too is such a banger and easily my favorite theme this wave. I think I still prefer the Tour version, but this remix is solid too. The only thing that I don't like about this track is that they removed the ink piranha plants from the lower level of the split path. This made the track much more interesting back in Tour because it provided a challenge for those who played it safe and stayed on the bottom. But besides that, this track is absolutely incredible and easily my favorite city track so far. DS Mario Circuit is not something that many of us expected, well unless you're Albert Boris, but honestly, I think I prefer this track over Airship Fortress now. I know that may seem blasphemous to some of you, but I don't know, there's just something about it that I really like. It's also not the easiest track in 200cc, especially with those S-turns at the end. The fire piranha plants are also a nice new obstacle, and the Wiggler is an interesting addition. I'm just mostly in shock on how narrow the track is, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. The music is not anything amazing, but it's not bad either. I like this course. It's a fun mixture of challenging yet thrilling too. Also, the track just feels fast. Maybe that's because it's so narrow though. Solid course overall. I really wanted Wario Coliseum to be revealed instead of this track, but when this track was revealed, I became super excited for it, and it definitely lives up to the hype. Waluigi Stadium is a really chaotic track, but it is meant to be. Remember how I said that in DK Summit the half pipes are slightly disappointing? Well, in this track, they're great for some reason. I don't know what it is, but they just feel so fun to go off of, especially because there are elevated paths to access from them. I find it funny how these paths are the only ones in this wave to have anti-gravity, but I'm not complaining. The glider at the end of the track feels super satisfying to go off too, in 200cc specifically, as it looks like you're going to crash back onto the ground, but if you pull up just at the right time, it's so fun and rewarding. The music is fantastic too, as it was always one of the best songs in Double Dash. The only complaint that I have with this track is that it can feel a little too slippery sometimes. I know I just said that I like the slipperiness in Yoshi's Island, but you have room to correct yourself in that track. However, in this one, if you slip up, you'll most likely just go flying into the wall. But besides that, this track is great, and I'm perfectly fine with having it over Wario Coliseum. I'm not trying to be a contrarian, but Singapore Speedway was definitely my least favorite city track this wave. It isn't bad at all, I just kinda expected a little bit more than what was given. I still really enjoy it though. The Chinatown aesthetic in particular is very cool, and I love how colorful the track is. The layout itself is also very unique. I just wish that it was a bit longer. The music slaps though, and I really like how the Chinatown has its own theme. That's all there really is to say though. So,
Hey, you wanna see something cool?
And that wraps up Wave 4. I know a lot of people say this because of recency bias, but I genuinely think this was my favorite wave so far. All the tracks here were decent to fantastic additions, and I cannot wait to see how Wave 5 and Wave 6 turn out to be. Here's my updated personal ranking of all the tracks in the Booster Course Pass so far. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, as it was a lot of fun to put together, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, and night.